I lay awake the entire night staring at the ceiling, replaying the scene over and over. The villa that was supposed to be paradise had turned into a prison of heartbreak. By morning, I realized two things. 1, I couldn't stay in this toxic environment. 2, I refused to let betrayal define me. Instead of collapsing, I made a decision that would change my life forever. I would rise. I would take this heartbreak and turn it into power, wealth, and success. Little did anyone know, this devastating betrayal would be the beginning of my journey to $1 million empire. I had lost everything I thought I loved, my husband, my sister, my trust. But one thing I still had was myself, and I knew that if I wanted to survive, I couldn't stay a victim. I needed a plan, and it had to be bold. I left the villa quietly at dawn, dragging my suitcase down the empty hallway. Every step felt like leaving a part of my shattered heart behind. I didn't speak to Ryan or Emily. I didn't send a message. I just walked. The sun rose over the pristine ocean, mocking my heartbreak with its beauty. I swallowed my tears and took a deep breath. This was my life now, and I was going to reclaim it. I booked a one-way ticket to a nearby city where no one knew me. I needed space, anonymity, and clarity. Facing reality. The first few days alone were brutal. Memories haunted me, and the betrayal replayed endlessly in my mind. I cried, I screamed, I felt rage boil inside me. But slowly, clarity began to emerge. I realized something vital. I had skills, intelligence, and resilience. I had worked in marketing before my wedding, and I knew I could create something extraordinary if I focused. It was in that moment I made a vow to myself. I will turn this heartbreak into power. I will build an empire they'll regret ever betraying me. I started researching business ideas relentlessly. I listed all my strengths: social media marketing, networking and persuasion, creative writing and storytelling. Within a week, I decided to launch my own online brand, a platform for empowering women who had faced betrayal and heartbreak. My brand would combine inspiration, lifestyle, and success strategies. But I couldn't do it alone. I needed capital, connections, and a strategy. I spent days working on my personal brand. I created a blog, a social media profile, and started sharing my story anonymously. I realized people were drawn to real pain turned into empowerment. The first followers trickled in. Messages of support from strangers made me feel alive again. One woman wrote, "Reading your story feels like someone finally understands my pain. Thank you for sharing." This small validation fueled my determination. Running into the past. One afternoon, while attending a networking event, I saw Ryan. He was there with Emily, laughing, looking as if nothing had happened. Anger surged through me, but this time I didn't run. Instead, I smiled. Quietly. Inside, I felt a fire ignite. I thought my life was perfect. A dreamy wedding, the man I loved, and a sister I trusted more than anyone. But in just one shocking night, everything I believed in crumbled before my eyes. What I discovered on my honeymoon wasn't just betrayal, it was a nightmare I never saw coming. And little did I know, this heartbreak would be the spark that ignited my journey to becoming a millionaire. The sunlight filtered softly through the grand hall, bouncing off the crystal chandeliers. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my veil, feeling a mixture of nerves and pure excitement. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, my wedding day. My groom Ryan looked dashing in his tailored tuxedo, and I felt butterflies just thinking about starting our life together. Everyone said we were a perfect match, a couple made for fairy tales, and for a moment I believed it. My sister Emily, who had always been my confidant, helped me with my dress, laughing at my nervous jitters. "You look stunning," she whispered, squeezing my hand. "Ryan is one lucky guy." I smiled, feeling gratitude for the people who had been my pillars through life. Little did I know, the very people I trusted the most were about to shatter my world. After a magical ceremony filled with laughter, happy tears, and champagne, we boarded a private plane for our honeymoon, a secluded villa in the Maldives. Ryan insisted on privacy, saying it was the perfect place for us to unwind and start our new life together. I imagined sun-kissed mornings on the beach, romantic dinners under the stars, and endless laughter. I never imagined the nightmare waiting for me. First signs of something wrong. The first night, I unpacked in our luxurious suite while Ryan went to check something outside. Emily, who had tagged along because of a family emergency, insisted on helping me organize. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Later, as I prepared for bed, I noticed Ryan's phone buzzing repeatedly. A name popped up on the screen, EM, Emily's initials. My heart skipped a beat. Maybe it was a work message or a family emergency, but then a sinking feeling grew in my stomach. I pushed it aside, telling myself I was just overthinking. The moment of truth. Around midnight, I went to grab a glass of water. The hallway was silent. Then I heard soft laughter, Ryan's laugh, unmistakable. Confused, I followed the sound. What I saw made my knees buckle. In our private villa, in the most intimate corner, Ryan and Emily were together. My sister, my husband. My world shattered in an instant. I felt like someone had ripped out my heart. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear. But I couldn't. I was frozen, betrayed by the two people I loved the most. I retreated to our room, tears streaming down my face. Questions swirled in my mind. How long had this been happening? How could my sister do this to me? Was everything in my life a lie? They think they can hurt me forever. They're about to see what I'm capable of. This moment cemented my resolve. I wouldn't just recover. I would excel. And in ways they could never imagine. The business plan takes shape. I started drafting my first project. An online course for women to turn personal crises into entrepreneurial success. I named it Heartbreak to Power. Module 1, Healing and Self-Love. Module 2, Identifying Strengths and Skills. Module 3, Turning Pain into Income. Module 4, Networking and Branding. Module 5, Scaling a Business. I poured all my energy into it, waking up at 5 a.m., working until midnight, fueled by heartbreak and determination. Just when I thought I was finally gaining control of my life, an unexpected message appeared in my inbox. It wasn't from a fan. It wasn't from a client. It was from Ryan. And it threatened to drag me back into the nightmare. I was trying to escape, but this time I was ready. The morning sunlight filtered through my apartment window. I was sitting at my desk sipping cold coffee, half asleep after another long night working on my new project. Notifications buzzed on my phone, emails, messages, social media pings, but one subject line froze me. We need to talk. It's not too late. Ryan. My stomach twisted. For a second, I could feel my heart pounding in my throat. Ryan, the man who had destroyed everything. The man I'd walked away from. What could he possibly want now? I hovered over the delete button but didn't press it. A strange calm replaced my anger. Not fear, not sadness, power. He had once controlled my emotions, my life, my future. Now he couldn't even control my attention. I closed the email and whispered, "You don't get to break me twice." It had been 3 months since that nightmare in the Maldives. 3 months of rebuilding, hustling, and rediscovering myself. My apartment was small, my savings thin, but I had something stronger than comfort. I had purpose. Every day I woke up and wrote ideas, designed logos, planned courses, and recorded small motivational clips. My online brand, Heartbreak to Power, was finally alive. It started as a small blog for women like me, the broken, the betrayed, the ones who lost everything but refused to stay down. I shared my pain, my lessons, my survival tricks. At first, only a handful of women read it, then hundreds, then thousands. Messages started flooding in. "You helped me leave a toxic marriage. I found the courage to start my business. Your story saved me." Every message was a reminder. I wasn't just surviving. I was transforming. One afternoon, while editing my next blog post, I received another message, this time from a woman named Carla Jenkins. "Your story moved me. I run a foundation for female entrepreneurs. I'd love to discuss collaboration." I blinked, reread, and felt my heart race. Could this be real? We met a week later in a small cafe. Carla was sharp, confident, and kind. She believed in my story and saw potential beyond my imagination. She offered to sponsor my first online seminar, a live workshop for women ready to rebuild their lives after betrayal or failure. That night, as I stared at the sponsorship email, tears welled in my eyes. Not from sadness, but pride. The world had tried to break me, and instead, I was about to inspire it. Preparation for the seminar consumed every hour of my day. I rented a small studio space, arranged lights, rehearsed scripts, and designed banners. The topic, how to turn heartbreak into power. On launch day, I stood before the camera, palms sweaty but heart steady. The live viewer count started ticking up. 100, 200, 500, 1,000. I took a deep breath and began. Sometimes the people who destroy you are the same, ones who show you what you're truly capable of. Pain isn't the end, it's the beginning. The chat exploded with hearts and crying emojis. Women were sharing their own stories in real time. The connection was raw, electric, and beautiful. When the stream ended, I collapsed into my chair, smiling through tears. I had done it. That one seminar went viral. It reached tens of thousands across social media. News blogs started featuring excerpts of my talk. Suddenly, Heartbreak to Power became more than a project. It was a movement, and of course, Ryan found out. Mutual friends sent me screenshots of his messages. I can't believe she's using our breakup for fame. She's exaggerating everything. Typical drama queen. I laughed. Fame? No, it was healing. And if success made him uncomfortable, that was just a bonus. Emily stayed silent, but I could sense her presence online, lurking behind fake profiles, watching my every move. I didn't block her. I wanted her to watch, to see what I was becoming. A month later, the foundation wired me my first official payment. It wasn't millions, just $10,000, but it felt like a fortune. I stared at the number on the screen and whispered, "This is just the beginning." I invested part of it into upgrading my setup, hired a small team, and started developing an online course. Modules teaching women business skills, mindset training, and healing tools. It sold out in weeks. That moment, I realized something powerful. Ryan's betrayal didn't destroy me. It introduced me to my empire. One night, while working late, I got a message request on Instagram. "Ryan again. You've made your point. But Emily and I are struggling. Maybe we can talk. Maybe we can fix things." I stared at the screen in disbelief. Was this a joke? For a brief second, I felt the old pain flicker inside me. But then I looked around, the glowing laptop, the notebooks filled with plans, the walls covered with motivational quotes. I wasn't that broken girl anymore. I replied with just one line. "Thank you for reminding me why I started." My brand grew faster than I imagined. Within months, I was invited to speak at women's summits, podcasts, and TV interviews. They introduced me as the woman who turned heartbreak into a global empowerment brand. Every time I stood on stage, I remembered that villa in the Maldives. The betrayal that once shattered me now fueled every word I spoke, and every audience tear, every clap, every thank you, whispered afterward, was proof that my pain had found purpose. But just as everything felt perfect, life reminded me it never stops testing you. One evening, my assistant rushed in. "Someone just emailed, says they have information about Ryan and Emily. They want to meet you. In person." I frowned. "Who?" They didn't say, but they mentioned the truth about the wedding night. My hands went cold. What truth? Had there been something even worse than what I saw? I hesitated, staring at the glowing email notification. Part of me wanted to delete it and move on, but another part whispered, "You deserve the whole truth." I took a deep breath and opened the message. What I read next made my blood run cold. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was deception, lies, and a secret that could destroy everything I had built. My past wasn't done with me yet, and this time it wanted revenge. They say time heals all wounds, but that's a lie. Time doesn't heal. It only hides the scars. And sometimes one message is all it takes to tear those scars open again. It was midnight when I opened the email. The subject line read, "You don't know the full story." I hesitated, my finger hovering over the screen. Something about that line felt haunting, like the ghost of a past I'd buried deep inside me had suddenly come knocking. I clicked it open. Inside was a single sentence. "Meet me tomorrow at 5 p.m. at the Corner Cafe. It's about Ryan and your sister. You deserve the truth." No name, no signature, just a location. I sat there, heart pounding, trying to breathe. Was it a prank, or someone who knew something real? Part of me wanted to ignore it. But curiosity, the same curse that made me check. Ryan's phone that night in the Maldives whispered, "What if this is the closure you never got?" The next day, I reached the cafe early. The air smelled of roasted coffee and rain. I sat near the window, scanning every face that walked in. At exactly 5:02, a woman in her late 30s entered. Long coat, nervous eyes, clutching a small folder. She looked around, spotted me, and walked straight over. "Are you Mia?" she asked quietly. "Yes," I replied cautiously. "And you are?" "My name's Sarah Quinn," she said. "I used to work for Ryan." My stomach tightened. She sat down, placed the folder on the table, and whispered, "I don't know how much you know, but you need to understand. What happened on your honeymoon wasn't just an affair. It was planned." "Planned?" I repeated. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath. Ryan and your sister had been seeing each other for over a year. But that's not all. They were also planning to use your inheritance to fund a business. Under Ryan's name. You were never supposed to find out. My mouth went dry. My inheritance? Sarah nodded. Your parents' trust fund. The one you never touched. Ryan knew about it because your sister showed him the documents. The cafe blurred around me. My pulse thundered in my ears. I remembered the night before the wedding. Emily insisting on handling all the paperwork, smiling, saying she wanted to make things easier. I had trusted her. My own sister. Sarah continued. When you caught them on your honeymoon, it ruined everything. Ryan lost access to your accounts. Emily panicked. They started fighting over money. That's when I quit. I couldn't be part of it anymore. I sat frozen, unable to speak. All the pieces clicked together. Every lie, every odd moment, every fake smile. They hadn't just betrayed my heart. They'd tried to steal my life. Sarah slid the folder toward me. Proof, she said simply. Inside were screenshots, emails and transaction drafts, all showing Ryan and Emily's conversations about setting up shell accounts and transferring funds after the honeymoon. There was even a message from Emily that read, Once Mia signs the transfer, we'll be set. She'll never notice. Tears blurred my vision. My hands trembled. Sarah's voice softened. I'm sorry, Mia, you didn't deserve any of this. I thought you should know before they try again. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw their faces. Laughing, lying, planning. But beneath the heartbreak, something else stirred. Not weakness, not grief. Fire. They thought they could break me for money. They thought they could silence me with betrayal. But now, they had handed me a weapon. 2 days later, I called Ryan. His voice sounded surprised. Mia, you called? Yes, I said coldly. I think it's time we finish what you started. He laughed nervously. I don't know what you mean. Oh, I think you do, I said. I know about the inheritance. About Emily. About the fake accounts. I have everything. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. Mia, listen, this is a misunderstanding. Save it, I interrupted. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to say thank you. Thank you? He said, confused. Yes, I whispered. Because you made me stronger. And now I'm going to build something so powerful that your betrayal will look like the best favor anyone ever did for me. Then I hung up. That call was the turning point. The pain, the betrayal, the lies, they became fuel. I poured every ounce of anger into my work. I launched my second platform, Reclaim Academy of Digital School Teaching Women, Business, Finance, and Emotional Independence. Enrollment exploded. Sponsors reached out. Media channels featured my journey as a modern phoenix story. My brand wasn't just healing hearts now. It was creating leaders. And within 6 months, we hit our first $1 million milestone. A year later, Emily showed up unannounced. Outside my office, her eyes were sunken, her face pale. She looked nothing like the sister I'd grown up with. Mia, please, just hear me out, she begged. I crossed my arms. Why are you here? Ryan left me, she whispered. He took everything. The money, my savings. He disappeared. I stared at her, my heart torn between pity and disgust. You destroyed me for him, I said quietly. And now he's destroyed you. Poetic, isn't it? Tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry. I was jealous, angry. I didn't think you'd ever forgive me. I shook my head. I don't forgive betrayal, but I do move on from it. Then I walked away. Not out of cruelty, but because for the first time, I finally understood that letting go was my real revenge. Months passed. My story was now featured in global magazines. Brands wanted to collaborate, women wanted mentorship, and investors wanted partnerships. Every stage I stood on, every spotlight I faced. I wasn't just Mia, the betrayed bride. I was Mia Hale, the empire builder. But deep down, I never forgot the lesson that started it all. Pain doesn't define you. What you do after it does. One evening, as I sat in my office overlooking the city skyline, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A text. You won, Mia, but remember, secrets don't stay buried forever. No name, just that line. I stared at it for a long time, then smiled faintly. Because for the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt peace. If another secret existed, I was ready. Because this time, I wasn't the girl who got betrayed on her honeymoon. I was the woman who turned heartbreak into a $1 million legacy. But Destiny wasn't done testing me. Just when I thought I had finally outrun the past, I discovered something that would shake my empire to its core, a secret hidden deep inside my own company. Success attracts light, but it also casts long shadows. I had built an empire from ashes, but one whisper from the past was about to remind me that even empires can crumble from within. A new morning, a new storm. The city skyline shimmered through my glass-walled office. Below, traffic moved like veins of light, feeding the restless heart of New York. It had been exactly 2 years since that honeymoon disaster. 2 years since the betrayal that once defined me. Now, Heartbreak to Power had turned into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. A global network of women, training centers, podcasts, retreats. The world finally knew my name. I had done it. Or so I thought. Because that single anonymous text still haunted me. Secrets don't stay buried forever. I brushed it off as jealousy. But somewhere inside, a small voice whispered, "What if it's true?" The numbers don't lie. My CFO, Lena Morales, walked in holding a tablet. "Mia, we have a problem," she said. I frowned. "Define problem." She placed the tablet on my desk. "Our Q2 financials don't match. Nearly $250,000 is missing from our operating fund." My chest tightened. "That's impossible. Every transaction is verified twice." "That's what I thought," Lena said. "But look, someone created a sub-account under Empower Events, LLC. It's been transferring small amounts weekly. Whoever did this knows our system." I stared at the screen. My empire, my pride, bleeding from the inside. "Find out who's behind it," I said coldly. "Quietly," Lena nodded. "Already on it." The whispers. Over the next week, tension wrapped around the office like fog. Employees whispered in corridors. Emails felt heavier. I started noticing little things. Doors left unlocked. Documents slightly moved, unfamiliar logins. And then came the press request. Rumors surface of financial fraud at Heartbreak to Power. Someone was leaking information. Someone wanted to destroy me. That night, alone in my penthouse, I stared at the city lights and muttered, "Ryan, if this is you, I swear you'll regret it." But deep down, I feared something worse. That this betrayal wasn't from the outside. The board meeting. I called an emergency meeting. The boardroom buzzed with murmurs as I entered, every eye turning toward me, some with concern, others with quiet judgment. "Let's clear the air," I began. "Yes, there's been a financial discrepancy. Yes, we're investigating. But let me make one thing clear, we will not crumble. Not now, not ever." As I spoke, my gaze caught one face at the far end of the table, Clara Rains, our new operations manager. She avoided my eyes, fingers trembling slightly. Something about her felt off. After the meeting, I asked Lena, "How long has Clara been with us?" 6 months, she replied. "Brilliant resume, came from a PR firm in LA." "Check that," I said. "Everything." The discovery. 2 days later, Lena burst into my office, pale and breathless. "Mia, you need to see this." On her tablet was Clara's personnel file, cross-checked with public records. Her real name wasn't Clara Rains. It was Clara Davis, and she had once worked at Ryan's company years ago. My blood ran cold. "She's connected to him," Lena said. "And she's the one who created the sub-account." I clenched my fists. "Bring her in." The confrontation. Clara walked into my office calmly, as if nothing had happened. Her tone was cool, almost amused. "So you found out," she said. "Why?" I demanded. "Why infiltrate my company? Why steal from women who trusted us?" She smiled faintly. "Because someone wanted to remind you that the past never really dies. Ryan sends his regards." My heart pounded. "He's behind this?" Clara leaned closer. "Not just him. He's rebuilding everything you took from him. And this time, he's not alone." I glared at her. "You're going to prison." She shrugged. "Maybe, but it won't stop what's already in motion." Security escorted her out, but her words echoed in my mind like a curse. The past returns. That night, my phone buzzed again. A private number, a familiar voice. "Hello, Mia." "Ryan." I froze. "I told you we'd meet again," he said. "You think you've won? You think you can bury me? I built this empire before you even knew how to spell success." "You built it on lies," I snapped. He laughed softly. "And you built yours on pity. You're a brand, not a business. Let's see how long it lasts when the truth comes out." "What truth?" I asked, the though I already dreaded the answer. He hung up. Oh, the storm breaks. Within 24 hours, an anonymous exposé hit the media. Inside the empire of Mia Hale, the dark secrets of heartbreak to power. It accused my company of fraud, manipulation, and fake success stories. The internet exploded. Hashtags trended. Sponsors pulled back. My empire, built with blood, sweat, and courage, was on the edge of collapse. I locked myself in my office as tears burned behind my eyes. For a moment, I felt that same helpless bride again. But then I saw the framed photo on my desk, a photo from my first seminar. Hundreds of women smiling, crying, healing. I wiped my tears and whispered, "No, not again." "Oh, fight back." I called Lena. "Pull every record. Every proof. We're going public." Within hours, we assembled a press conference. Reporters flooded the room as I stood behind the podium. Heart hammering, but voice steady. They tried to break me once, and I rebuilt myself. They tried to ruin me again, and I'll do it once more. Heartbreak to power is not a brand. It's a movement. And no lie can destroy truth. The audience erupted in applause. Supporters flooded social media with this stand with Mia. And slowly the tide turned. Investigations cleared my company within weeks. Ryan and Clara's transactions were traced back, and they were exposed for fraud and identity theft. Justice was sweet, but something in me knew it wasn't over. Oh, the silent file. After everything settled, Lena handed me a USB drive. "It was in Clara's desk," she said. "No label, no password. Might be important." That night, I plugged it into my laptop. A single folder appeared, Project Horizon. Inside was a document with Ryan's signature, and mine. Except I had never signed it. It was a contract linking my company to an offshore investment firm in his name. My blood ran cold. He had been planning something far bigger than just revenge. Oh, cliffhanger for part 6. As I read the contract, I realized Ryan's game was never about money. It was about control. And what he had set in motion could destroy everything I had built in one stroke. To save my empire, I'd have to face the devil I once loved. Sometimes the most dangerous battles aren't fought with weapons, they're fought with signatures. And I was about to discover that the pen Ryan used against me was sharper than any blade. The discovery. The room was silent except for the faint hum of my laptop. The screen glowed in the dark, illuminating a single file that could destroy me. Project Horizon Confidential. My name was on it. My digital signature. And next to it, Ryan's. But I had never signed that contract. It detailed a $5 million offshore transfer from my company, Heartbreak to Power, into a shell investment group in the Cayman Islands. The documents looked authentic. Date stamps, notary seals, every detail perfect, except I hadn't authorized a thing. I sat frozen, pulse racing, mind spinning. Ryan had forged my identity, and if this went public, everything I'd built could be labeled fraud. My empire could collapse overnight. The call to Lena. I grabbed my phone and called Lena immediately. "Lena, we have a bigger problem than we thought." She sounded half asleep. "What's going on?" "There's a forged contract under my name, linked to Ryan's fake company. It's professional grade. He's setting me up." There was silence on the other end. "Then I'm coming over." Within 30 minutes, Lena was at my apartment, still in her sweatshirt, laptop under her arm. We opened the file again, examining every detail. "This isn't amateur work," she muttered. "It's corporate-level forgery." He had help. "From who?" I asked. Her eyes widened. "Remember Clara? She was in charge of compliance access. She had your e-signature keys. She could have copied your encrypted data." My heart sank. So that was it. The trap had been set months ago. Ryan had planted her not just to steal, but to frame me. "The choice. We have 2 options," Lena said grimly. "Either we go public and risk investors panicking, or we stay quiet and find evidence first." I leaned back, staring at the city through my window. Rain streaked down the glass like tears. If I went public, my empire could fall. If I stayed silent, Ryan could win. But I wasn't that broken girl anymore. "I'm not hiding," I said finally. "We fight this, but we fight smart." The trap. Over the next week, we gathered a secret team, digital analysts, lawyers, cybersecurity experts. Every night I worked in silence, piecing together Ryan's web of deceit. Then one night, my tech lead, Omar, called out, "Got something!" On his screen flashed an IP address, used to log into my digital signature system 3 months ago. The location? Los Angeles. And the registered device belonged to Ryan Hale. They said I forged a contract. They said I stole millions. But here's the truth, someone else did. And he's sitting on the ashes of his own lies. I clicked the remote. Behind me, a giant screen lit up with data logs, timestamps and Ryan's IP address traced to the forged contract. They said I stole millions. But here's the truth, someone else did. And he's sitting on the ashes of his own lies. I clicked the remote. Behind me, a giant screen lit up with data logs, timestamps and Ryan's IP address traced to the forged contract. The crowd gasped. This isn't a business war, it's personal, I continued. A man who betrayed me years ago tried again to take what I built. But what he forgot is that I learned from him, and I'm stronger now. The video played Ryan's voice from a recorded call. Let's see how long it lasts when the truth comes out. The audience erupted. Reporters shouted questions. My team began flooding social media with evidence under Hamchamao's Truth by Mia. By sunset, the tide had turned. Ryan's fall. That night, federal agents raided Ryan's office in Los Angeles. Fraud, identity theft, cyber forgery. His crimes stretched across multiple companies. Within 48 hours, he was arrested. The news spread like wildfire. Every headline now read, Mia Hale vindicated, the woman who outsmarted her betrayer again. My followers surged, sponsors returned, and the empire I'd feared losing came back stronger than ever. But amid all the chaos, one thing still bothered me. The name Project Horizon. Why that name? What did it mean? The hidden letter. 2 weeks later, after Ryan's arrest, I received a sealed envelope at my office. No sender, just my name in elegant handwriting. Inside was a handwritten note. The Horizon wasn't his idea. He was working for someone else. Be careful who you trust next. And attached, a photograph. It showed Ryan shaking hands with Carla Jenkins, the woman who had helped me launch my first seminar. My stomach dropped. Carla, the woman who gave me my first chance. My first platform was part of his plan. I couldn't believe it. But the photo looked real. And suddenly, the warning made sense. The betrayal behind the empire. I went back to my files. Carla had access to all my original startup data, account details, branding, and investor info. She had introduced me to certain silent partners who never revealed their faces. And now, I realized, those silent partners might have been Ryan's investors all along. Maybe I hadn't escaped his web completely. Maybe I'd been living inside it. The inner storm. That night, I stood on my balcony, the wind cold against my skin. Below me, the city glittered, my empire glowing like a crown. But it felt heavier now. Because what if everything I built had strings attached to the man I'd sworn to destroy? I whispered to the night. I rebuilt myself from pain. But if my foundation has cracks, I'll rebuild again. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't the end. It was the next battle. The decision. The next morning, I called Lena. We're cutting all silent partnerships. I don't care how much it costs. I want full control of my company. No ghosts, no secrets. She hesitated. That could cost us millions. I've lost worse, I said. And I came back stronger every time. I drafted a public statement. No one owns my story. No one owns my empire. From today, Heartbreak to Power stands completely independent, built by women, for women. The internet exploded again, but this time, in admiration. The final scene. Weeks later, I visited Ryan's prison. He looked older, broken, but that smug smile was still there. Mia, he said softly, you won again. But Carla, you think she did this for me? No, she did it for herself. I frowned. What are you talking about? He leaned forward, eyes gleaming. She used both of us. She's the real Horizon. I stared at him in shock as guards pulled him away. And suddenly I realized the game wasn't over. It had just changed players. The truth burns brighter than any empire built on lies. The moment I mentioned Project Horizon, Carla's hand froze midair. Her perfect smile faltered, only for a second, but I saw it. She leaned back slowly, eyes narrowing. Mia, I hope you're not implying I had anything to do with that ridiculous project. Her tone was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that hides chaos. I'm not implying, I said quietly. I'm confirming. I slid the photograph across her glass desk, the one showing her shaking hands with Ryan. She didn't even flinch. She just looked at it and smiled. So, she said softly, You found it. Carla stood up, walked to the window, and gazed out at the skyline. When you came to me, she began, her voice distant. You were raw, broken, but brilliant. I saw potential. You reminded me of me, before I learned how cruel the world could be. She turned to face me, her expression unreadable. Ryan came to me years ago, offering a partnership. He wanted to build an empire, but he lacked a face people could trust. I had the reputation. He had the strategy. And you... She pointed her manicured finger at me. You had the fire we could both exploit. My stomach twisted. You used me? No, she said simply. I built you. The knife in words. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face calm. You lied to me, Carla. You made me believe you were my mentor. I was, she said sharply. Everything you know, the power, the image, the control, you learned from me. I gave you the blueprint. You just grew too proud to remember who your architect was. Her words cut deep, but something inside me hardened. You're wrong, I said quietly. You didn't build me. You only showed me what chains look like, so I could break them. Her lips curled into a smirk. Let's see how long you stay free when your empire collapses again. The storm breaks. That night, my entire board resigned. Emails flooded in. Contracts withdrawn. Investors backing out. Carla had moved faster than I imagined. She'd leaked internal files, fake audits, even confidential recordings. And the worst part? They all sounded real. Social media erupted. Mia Hale's empire built on fraud again? Heartbreak to power or power built on heartbreak? It was like Ryan's betrayal all over again, but worse. This time it was coming from the woman I trusted most. Breaking point. I sat alone in my dark office. Everything silent except the city outside. My reflection stared back from the window. Tired, wounded, furious. How many times will I have to start over? I whispered to myself. Then I heard another voice. Lena's behind me. As many times as it takes. She stepped in, holding a flash drive. I found something, she said. Carla didn't just betray you. She betrayed everyone. On the screen appeared a series of encrypted files, names, account numbers, secret payments from dozens of women-owned startups, all funneled into Carla's private trust. She's been using her mentorship program to steal from her own clients, Lena said. I stared at the data. Then slowly a smile spread across my face. Let's end her empire. The final exposure. The next morning I scheduled a live broadcast. Millions tuned in, the same people who'd watched me rise, fall, and rise again. Carla also watched. I made sure she did. Standing under the studio lights, I said, They say the most painful wounds come from those we trust. But today I'm not here to talk about pain. I'm here to talk about power. Real power. The kind that can't be stolen or faked. Behind me, I played the evidence. Recordings, transactions, bank statements. Every dirty secret Carla had hidden behind her polished smile. Then I showed her voice, recorded during our last meeting. I built you, Mia. You just grew too proud to remember who your architect was? The audience gasped. The internet exploded. By the next sunrise, her Carla Exposed was trending in 40 countries. Her organization collapsed within days. Investigators raided her offices. The queen had fallen. The rebirth. Weeks passed. I could have celebrated, but something in me had changed. Success didn't feel like victory anymore, not when it came from constant war. One evening, I stood on the same beach where Ryan and I had taken our honeymoon photos. The waves were calm now, the same sea that had witnessed my heartbreak. Now reflected my peace. Lena joined me quietly. So what now? She asked. I smiled. Now I build differently. No revenge, no rage, just truth. She nodded. And what will you call it? I looked out at the horizon, that cursed word now reclaimed. Horizon Foundation, I said softly. A real one this time, for women who lost everything but refused to give up. One last letter. A month later, I received a letter from prison. No name on the envelope, but I knew that handwriting. Mia, you destroyed the queen. But remember, even after the queen falls, the board remains. Ryan. I folded the paper, smiled faintly, and whispered, Let them remain. I play a different game now. The ending. 1 year later, Heartbreak to Power had evolved into Horizon Global. I stood on stage at a women's leadership summit, thousands cheering my name. I was betrayed by love, then by friendship, then by mentorship, but none of that destroyed me. It designed me. I paused, scanning the crowd, faces filled with hope, strength, fire. Because power doesn't come from who hurts you. It comes from who you choose to become after the hurt. Applause thundered through the hall. I smiled, tears glistening in my eyes. The camera zoomed in as I said my final line. The same line that ended my story and began my legacy. They broke my heart, but I turned every crack into light. At the end,